have overseen many executions. Most men do not sleep on their final night. They pace, they pray, they bargain with God. But this one, he sleeps, calmly, as if tomorrow is ordinary. He is 23 years old. His file says revolutionary, murderer, extremist. Yet when I look at him through the iron bars, I see no madness, only stillness. I watch him read under dim light. He turns each page carefully, not like a man counting his last hours, like a student preparing for examination. There is no priest in his cell, no ritual, no whispered prayer. I have guarded hardened criminals. I have seen men collapse at the thought of death. This one writes essays about courage, about belief, or the absence of it. They say he shot a British officer in Lahore, Saunders, retaliation for a protest. To us, it was murder. To him, it was consequence. I expected hatred in his eyes. Instead, I find something else, certainty, and I cannot decide which troubles me more. Case file: Bhagat Singh. Age: 23. Charge: murder of Assistant Superintendent Saunders. Affiliation: Hindustan Socialist Republican Association. Additional charge: unlawful assembly, bombing. Intent: revolutionary propaganda. But the file does not begin at Lahore. It does not begin with a gun. It does not begin with a bomb. It begins years earlier. Amritsar, 1919. Jallianwala Bagh. A gathering, unarmed, enclosed, high brick walls, only one narrow exit, troops positioned at the gate. Orders given, rifles raised, no warning, no escape. The report calls it necessary force. History records numbers, but I imagine a boy walking through that ground days later, the walls still scarred, the dust still heavy, silence where screams once stood. They say he bent down, collected the soil, darkened by blood, placed it in a small bottle, carried it home. A child carrying evidence of empire. The file does not record that moment, but perhaps that is where the story truly begins. I try to imagine him then, not as the man in my cell, but as a boy, returning home with a bottle of blood-soaked soil. What does a child do with such memory? Some forget, some grow bitter, some move on. He did not. He read, relentlessly, history, philosophy, revolutions in distant nations. He did not rush toward rage, he moved toward understanding. The reports say he joined radical circles, that he spoke boldly of independence. But what interests me is not his anger, it is his discipline. There was a time when his family tried to arrange his marriage, a normal life, a home, a future within the system. He refused, not with fury, not with rebellion, but with clarity. He wrote to his father. He said his life no longer belonged to comfort, it belonged to freedom. I find that difficult to comprehend. Most men cling to stability, to family, to certainty. He walked away from it, voluntarily. Not because he had nothing to lose, but because he had already chosen something greater. And somewhere between books and silence, between grief and thought, the boy became something else. Not merely rebellious, not merely patriotic, but certain. And certainty is far more dangerous than rage. I read the reports. Lahore, October 1928. A protest against the Simon Commission. No violence planned, only slogans, only resistance. At the front stood Lala Lajpat Rai, an old man, firm, unafraid. The police advanced, batons raised, the crowd scattered, but the blows did not. Lala Lajpat Rai was struck, again and again. Bhagat Singh was there, not shouting, not charging, watching. That is what unsettles me. He was watching. Days later, Lala Lajpat Rai died. Official cause, complications. But the streets said something else. And I imagine the boy who once collected soil, now collecting memory. This time, not in a bottle, in his mind. The records show meetings followed, closed rooms, low voices. No celebration, no rage. Only a sentence repeated quietly. This cannot go unanswered. The target was meant to be James Scott, the officer responsible for the Lottie charge. But in confusion, John Saunders was shot instead, a young British officer. Wrong man, right symbol. That is how revolutions justify themselves. Bhagat did not run blindly. He did not shout in triumph. He disappeared, cut his hair, shaved his beard, changed his appearance. Not to hide fear, but to continue the fight. And I sit here now, holding his file, and I wonder, was it revenge, or was it calculation? Was it anger, or was it certainty? Because rage burns quickly, certainty does not. And from that moment on, he was no longer just a protester. He was a marked man. By 1929, Bhagat Singh was already wanted. Saunders had been killed. His name circulated in police circles. But what he did next was stranger. He did not hide. He walked into the Central Legislative Assembly in Delhi, not alone, with Batukeshwar Dutt. They carried bombs, small ones, low intensity, the kind that make noise, not massacre. The assembly was in session, British officials seated, debates ongoing, Routine governance. Then, smoke, explosion, paper flying, panic in the hall. But no one died. No one was murdered. That part matters. They stood there, did not flee, did not resist arrest. Instead, they shouted, "Inquilab Zindabad!" Long live the revolution, over and over. The leaflets they threw said it clearly. It takes a loud voice to make the deaf hear. This was not an escape attempt. It was a surrender, a calculated one. He wanted the trial. He wanted the courtroom. He wanted the microphone. And he got it. In prison, he did something more dangerous than throwing bombs. He read, he wrote, he argued. He demanded equal rights for Indian prisoners. Hunger strike, 63 days. His body weakened, but his clarity did not. The newspapers began printing his words. Students began quoting him. His image changed, from assassin to thinker, from extremist to symbol. And somewhere inside these walls, I began noticing something. He was not proud of violence. He was proud of purpose. And purpose is harder to imprison. The prosecutor speaks of law, of order, of crime against the empire. Bhagat Singh does not deny the bomb, he denies the label. He says calmly, "We did not throw the bomb to kill. We threw it to make the deaf hear." The courtroom stiffens. He is not defending himself. He is addressing a nation. He says, "If we wished to take lives, we would not have chosen empty seats." This is not apology. It is declaration. And suddenly, the dock becomes a stage. The trial becomes a message. And the empire realizes, this young man is not afraid of death. He is afraid of silence. The courtroom is quiet. Too quiet. The judge reads slowly, every word deliberate, every word distant. The charges are repeated: murder, sedition, conspiracy against the crown. He listens. Not once does he interrupt. Not once does he lower his gaze. Then the final line is written: sentenced to be hanged till death. The pen moves across the paper. Ink settles into the fibers. And when the judge finishes, he presses the nib. It bends. The pen breaks. The sound is small, but final. In that moment, the empire believes it has closed a case. A signature, a broken pen, a sealed fate. But I look at the dock, and the young man standing there does not look defeated. He looks resolved. No anger, no plea, only stillness, as if he already knew. The sentence is announced. The courtroom murmurs. Some heads bow, some eyes avoid him. But he remains upright, 23 years old. And the law has decided his body will not outlive his idea. They break a pen, but something else has just been written into history. The court adjourns. The file is closed. The guards return him to his cell. But the words do not stay inside the courtroom. The newspapers print his statement. Students read it in hostels. Workers read it in factories. Tea shops repeat it. We did not throw the bomb to kill. We threw it to make the deaf hear. And something shifts. He is no longer only an accused man. He is becoming a voice. Inside the prison, he hears the echoes, slogans outside the walls, whispers in corridors. The Empire tries to contain the body, but the idea slips through iron bars. Days pass, 10, 20, 30. The plate remains untouched. His body weakens, but his eyes do not. 63 days. The newspapers write again, the public watches, and I begin to understand this is not self-destruction. This is discipline. The Empire knows how to fight men with weapons. It does not know how to fight a starving man who refuses to bend. He is not asking to live. He is demanding to be heard. And hunger becomes louder than bombs. The cell door opens, and for a moment, the prison does not feel like a prison. His mother steps inside. She has not come as a symbol. She has come as a mother. She looks at him, and time seems to stop. He is thinner now, his face sharper, but his eyes steady. She reaches out and touches his cheek, as if to confirm he is still real. No slogans, no politics, only silence. A silence filled with everything unsaid. She had once held him as a child. Now she stands before a man who has chosen a path she cannot undo. Her eyes search his face for fear. She finds none. He smiles, not bravely, not proudly, gently, as if to protect her from the truth. She wants to ask him to stay, to fight less, to live, but she knows he has already crossed that line. Her hands tremble. He notices and straightens himself. Not for the court, not for the guards, for her. He tells her not to cry, because if she cries, they will think he is afraid, and he cannot allow that. She places her hand on his head, the same way she did when he was a boy. But this blessing is different. It is not for long life. It is for courage. When she turns to leave, he does not call her back. He does not watch her go, because if he does, the sun may overpower the revolutionary. The door closes. The echo remains. And for the first time, even the guard looks away. quiet of his cell, he writes one last time. Not about bombs, not about empire, about belief. He writes, I am an atheist, not because I am proud, but because I refuse to depend on divine help. He writes that courage must stand on its own, that a man must face death with his eyes open, without expecting rescue from the sky. There is no anger in his words, only clarity. The page is folded, the pen rests, the footsteps approach. A guard's voice, soft, almost reluctant. It is time. He closes the book he is reading. Lenin. He smiles faintly. Wait, he says calmly. A revolutionary is meeting another revolutionary. He finishes the line, stands, no trembling hands, no lowered head. The corridor is narrow, the air heavy. Each step echoes. Not hurried, not delayed, just steady. He shouts once, Inquilab Zindabad. Clear, unbroken. The rope hangs before him. He looks at it and smiles. He is 23 years old. The lever falls. And the empire believes it has ended a life. But outside those prison walls, a name is just beginning.